Hello, I'm going to show you how to make this snowflake ornament for a Christmas tree. It's made with Swarovski crystals and pearls, and you're going to need to make the entire thing 23 6mm pearls, 12 4mm pearls, 22 tiny crystals. I've got 2.5mm bicones here, 2 4mm bicones, a jump ring, and approximately 45 centimeters of wire. I use wire rather than beading thread just so that the snowflake maintains some structure. If you make it with beading thread, then what tends to happen is it goes a little bit floppy on the arms. Now, first stage is to make this circle here in the middle of the snowflake. So to do that, with one end of your wire, you pick up 6 of the 6mm pearls. Now, when you've got all 6, what you need to do is cross over on the 6th one. Now, what I mean by that is on the 6th pearl, you take the other end of your wire and poke that through the opposite way. So what's happening, look, is you're forming a cross with the wire inside the pearl, and you pull tight. Try and make sure that both ends of your wire are approximately the same, and you get that center circle now for your snowflake. Now we're going to build one of the arms. As you can see, there's the center. I need to pick up a 4mm and then 3 6mm to start off with. So with one end of my wire, I'm going to pick up a tiny bead, and then a 4mm, and another tiny, and then I'll need to have my 3 6mm beads. So I do 6mm, and then tiny, 6mm, tiny, 6mm. Now these 3 here, the 3 6mm, these need to be bent round to make the loop. So I need to take the end of my wire and push it back through this tiny one here, the one that's in between the 4mm and the 6mm. So I push back through here and pull gently, don't pull tight just yet, and I push all of the beads towards that end. And what I'm going to do is just fold it there, just to keep the beads in place while I pull gently to close that loop. Now that loop's closed, I need to attach it to the main center. To do that, I pick up a 4mm and a tiny, and this tiny I cross over with the other end of the wire. So I poke the other wire through, so I'm making a cross inside the crystal, and then I pull tight. Now, when you're using wire, especially with wire as fine as this, it can snap quite easily, so don't pull too tight. But if it does snap, it's not the end of the world. You can always rethread the last couple of beads. Now, I've got 2 pieces of wire now, one facing towards the centre and one facing away. The one that's facing towards the centre, I'm going to push that through the next 6mm bead in that circle along, because this is going to form the base of the next arm on the snowflake. So, as you can see, there's two pieces of wire coming away. One comes out of a crystal, one comes out of the centre. The one coming out of the crystal is the one that I'm going to use. And onto that, I'm going to thread a 4mm, and then a tiny, and then I need to do my 3 6mm beads again. This one doesn't want to play. There we go. So I'll do 6mm, tiny, 6mm, tiny, 6mm, and then, same as before, I need to fold it back round on itself, and the wire comes up back through that tiny there between the 4mm and the 6mm. So I push it back through, to make my loop. I don't pull it tight just yet, because what I need to do, that kink out, what I need to do is to push everything towards the centre, fold that over to keep them in place, and then pull through. Tighten that up slightly. Now, on the end of this wire again, same side of wire, I need to add my 4mm, and a tiny. And remember, it's the tiny which you cross over with the other side of wire, and then you pull tight to connect that arm to the circle. So now I have 2 arms. As you can see, one piece of wire is pointing away and one's pointing to the centre. The one with the centre, that's the one I'm going to use. So that wire goes through the next 6mm along. Now, 2 pieces of wire, one comes from the centre, one comes from a crystal. It's the one with the crystal which starts the next arm. So I pick up a 4mm, and then a crystal, and then I need my 3 6mm, two, little crystal, the last 6mm. Now I need to fold these back, put the wire through this crystal here, the one between the 4mm and the 6mm, to close my loop. So the wire goes back in, push all the crystals back towards the centre where I want them to be, fold my wire slightly and pull gently. Closing that loop. Now I attach that loop to the circle in the middle by picking up a 4mm and a tiny one. Use the tiny one as the crossover with the other side of the wire, pull tight. And as before, the wire that's facing the centre is the one that will go through the next 6mm bead along. So, 2 pieces of wire, one comes from a pearl, one comes from a crystal. You start with the one from the crystal. Now, as before, you pick up a 4mm and a tiny, and the 3 6mm. So I'll go 6mm, tiny, 6mm, tiny, 6mm. These need to be folded back round on themselves, so the wire goes through the tiny crystal between the 4 and the 6. Before I pull tight, I push all the beads back to the centre, squash the end down a little to keep them in place, and gently pull to close that loop. On that same piece of wire, I join it to the centre by threading a 4mm and a tiny. Cross over the tiny, same as before. And then pull tight. Now, one piece facing away, one piece facing the centre. The piece facing the centre goes through the next 6mm to form the base of the 5th arm. Now, the 5th arm is going to be slightly different. If you look here, where I've got my hanging thread with my jump ring, I've replaced this 6mm and the 2 tiny ones with 2 4mm ones. So it keeps the symmetry, so it'll still hang straight on the tree. So, to do that arm, the wire coming out of the crystal, I need to add my 4mm and a tiny, but this time I'm going to do a 6mm and then the 4mm crystal, the jump ring, 4mm crystal, and then the 6mm. Slightly different pattern. The next bit's the same. It needs to be folded back round to make the loop, and it goes through the crystal that's between the 4mm and the 6mm. So before I pull it tight, push everything back towards the centre, fold that down, try and keep it in place, pull tight. join this up to the main part with a 4mm. And a tiny. Cross over the tiny. Now, this last arm that we're doing now, the wire that's facing the centre needs to go through this 6mm and that tiny. So go through the 6mm. And then through the tiny. Now I haven't tightened it up until I've gone through both of those because it just happens to work out easier doing it that way. So through the 6mm, through the tiny. Okay. Now both ends of wire are coming out of a crystal, so it doesn't matter which one you use. But I'm going to carry on with using this side just because I've been doing that before. I pick up a 4mm and then a tiny, and then I do my 3 6mm. 6mm, tiny, 6mm, tiny, 6mm, and this needs folding background. So back through the crystal between the 4mm and the 6mm. Push all my beads back to the centre where I need them to be. Fold the wire down slightly, pull gently. Now, to attach this to the centre, I just cross over both wires through the remaining 4mm bead. And pull tight. All that's left now is to secure the wire. I'm going to make my wire slightly shorter. Because what I need to do is to thread both sides through 2 or 3 beads just to secure them. It doesn't matter which beads, you tend to go through the ones which are the most convenient. So I'm going to push through this 6mm first. It'll go. If it doesn't, then I'll try a different bead. But I'll push through here. And then I'll push through that crystal there. And then I'm going to go through a 3rd bead as well in this instance, if I can. And then I'm going to snip that wire as close to the pearl as I can. Now the other end of the wire, do something similar. Doesn't matter which way I go. I'm going to go through that crystal, I think, because it's facing that way. There we go. go through. That's 6mm there at the side. It'll fit. If not, I'll go through a different one. It's not coming out easily, so I'm going to go up through that one instead. Or the one on this side. So it doesn't matter. All it is really is to hide these wire ends. And when you've gone through a couple, you can just snip the end off. And there's your completed snowflake. And you have your ring here where you can attach some thread or some ribbon to hang it. You could use crystals instead of pearls. That's one I've done here, where I've just done the opposite. Where the crystals were, I've put pearls, etc. I've used the same sizing, except these are 3mm pearls here, and I've got 6mm bicones and 4mm bicones in between. So that's just an alternative that you could do. If you need any help or advice on this, please feel free to comment or to email me directly at jackie@daisydoo.co.uk, or you can look on our website www.daisydoo.co.uk for any other ideas or materials.